Okay, 6.4 power stroke. I needed to replace the camshaft. One of the lobes wore down, but I did not want to take out the whole bottom end assembly, the crankshaft and the connecting rods and all that. So I did what I heard a lot of in the forums not to do, is to remove the crankshaft flange. I read all kinds of things from guys, you know, if you remove that, you're going to have to take the crankshaft in and get redone or whatever, or replace the whole crankshaft, and just all kinds of pretty wild things. So, but I couldn't understand why. As long as this is oriented, you know, like it's not rotated by one hole, right? The same hole in this should line up with the same hole in the crankshaft that it was when you took it apart. Okay, got that, no problem. That was not an issue, because these are kind of balanced too, from what I gather. But I guess in the forums, a lot of guys were saying that, you know, you're not going to get the balance correct and the wobble, and you might not get it perfectly centered. Well, when I put this thing back on, I pushed it on, kind of had to press it on. It is such a tight fit. I don't understand how you could be off, up and down, or left and right, whatever. I don't know. So I decided to, you know, crank it down, torque it, and put my dial indicator on it and see, right? I'm not going to reuse those bolts. Those are the factory bolts that came out of it. But just to see if I can get this thing back to centered or whatever, and figure out what these guys are talking about, using those bolts. But I have some ARP bolts on the way. But anyway, I had set up a dial indicator on both the diameter here, so we can read, you know, wobble that way. And then I had the dial indicator on the face there. So to read, you know, wobble in both directions there. So I'll, yeah, get to it, and I'll show you how that worked out. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have the dial indicator set up on the outside diameter of the flange here, and like I said, this thing pressed on there so tightly, I don't understand how you could be off, like up and down or left and right or whatever. This thing fits on there really tight. So as long as you get your orientation where the pin is, the balancing, it should be correct. But let's see how far off or how much this wobbles in this direction here. Looks like I'm getting about 3/1000ths total movement. Yeah, 3/1000ths. Go one more for good measure. Yeah. So a total of 3/1000ths, which happens to be about the thickness of one Post-it note. I think I don't know the actual spec it needs to be, but 3/1000ths, typically I think these are supposed to be, they're supposed to be a little bit under 5/1000ths. Anything under 5/1000ths on a lot of them. I don't know what this particular one is, but that sure seems pretty dang good to me. Okay, now I have the dial indicator on the front face of it. I want to see about the wobble in that direction. All right, here we go. Looks like that was just under 2 thousandths. One lower than 0 and one higher than 0. Do it again. And one more. So, not much at all. All right, so we got 3 thousandths on the diameter and 2 thousandths on the face. 2 thousandths is 2/3 the thickness of a Post-it note. I'm no expert, but you know what? I'm willing to bet that when this truck is driving down the road, this big heavy truck, and it takes off at a stoplight, it's probably the flex plate probably has more deflection than 2 thousandths of an inch. But in any case, with the numbers I was getting from that, I don't see why I shouldn't run it. So I'm going to run it. Maybe I'll find out. You know, who cares? I mean, it's my truck. I'm not hurting anybody but myself. And I'm pretty confident that that's going to work fine. One last thing, though, I want to reiterate what I said earlier. For anybody who's watching this that might decide to pull that flange off, if you ever try to pull that flange off, don't reuse the bolts. Those are torque to yield bolts. And kind of what that means is they're torque, when they torque down, they're stretched and they are deformed plastically, not elastically. Elastically means that they would come out and they would go back to their original shape and their original length and everything. Plastically means that they when they come out, they're still kind of stretched. And the reason those things stretch, based on what I gather, is they kind of put spring force against the threads, and it helps hold it. But if you were to reuse that stretched bolt and go to that same torque, what you're doing is you're stretching it out even further, and that's more stretch than they're designed to have. And you've greatly diminished the strength of that bolt. And you got to think, what is that bolt? What kind of forces are being exerted on that bolt while this thing is in operation? And you've got 6 of those bolts that are taking all the forces from that motor. 100% of the force from that motor is going through those bolts. So I would not want to stretch that bolt out beyond what it's designed for and then go put it behind a 6.4. A good running 6.4, that's pretty dangerous, I think. But anyway, yeah, just wanted to show you that. I'm going to put ARP bolts in it. They're on the way. And I've already got those ones torqued down to where it should be. And I'm just going to take one out at a time. I'm going to put my new bolt in, torque it down, go to another one, pull it out, put the new one in, torque it down. So in theory, that should keep it exactly where it's at, as if it could move. Anyway, I don't really know. I had to press that thing on. So yeah, other than that, just wanted to show my thoughts on that, because I just maybe someone knows. Maybe someone knows what people are talking about, but I don't see any reason not to try and run that.